let's now move forward specifically to what are the different types or general types of a clinical trial, an interventional study, or the clinical trial. So we have two general types. The first one is the controlled clinical trials, or simply clinical trials, or it's generally termed as trials, in which the individuals are assigned to one of two or more competing interventions. So there is an intervention, one a standard care versus the new one. So it can be a competitor of that original or that innovator care. Okay? And the intervention is the newly discovered one. And I'm talking about in under the perspective of pharmacy. Okay. The second one is the community trial or field trials, in which entire groups, for example, villages, neighborhoods, maybe schools like UIC, or any, like for example, district like Davao City, are assigned to different interventions. Okay. So the interventions here can be quite varied. As I've mentioned a while ago, according to different disciplines, it can vary. For example, in the discipline of medical technology, their intervention can be in the form of diagnostics. If you can remember, there is a call for rolling out high accuracy and high reliability diagnostic tool for COVID, so that it will not be um, the treatment class and diagnosis really goes hand in hand. So if we don't have a good diagnostic tool, we cannot manage well the disease, especially for infectious diseases. So in the in the discipline of medical technology, their intervention is in the form of diagnostic tools. Like for example, is the gold standard can be challenged with this new portable diagnostic tool. So for COVID, it was found out that the gold standard for diagnosis is the RC the PCR, no, the reverse transcript PCR. But it is so expensive and not everyone can be tested, and yeah, it's a burden. That's why there is another call. The second round of it is to standardize the saliva test, the swab test, and other tests that can be portable, especially going to far-flung areas where there are a lot of COVID cases, and it's not really controlled because you cannot separate the well and the unwell. Okay, I hope you're following. So it is related. It's epidemiologic. So you cannot segregate in infectious disease. It's crucial to have a very good diagnostic tool, because before treatment comes in, before treatment to be effective and deployed logistically, you have to determine who are infected and who are not, who should be in quarantine and who should be treated, and who should be forgo and live according to with freedom, with liberty already. So that's it for medical technology. Now the perspective of the pharmacist, or in the drug development, we got the vaccine. And again, for example, the psychology, we got the non-pharmacological treatments. Okay, so these are the different interventions that, yeah, we can do, either either using controlled clinical trials or community trials. Okay. Next is this one. So now let's try to understand the examples or the types of studies, several variations in all of these interventional study designs, because they have varying complexity, each of these. Okay, so we have the RCT, the non-randomized controlled trial, and the non-RCT. Then we have there some examples under them. Without concurrent control, this one. And then we have pre-post studies. And for RCT, we have crossover, factorial, and cluster. So I'm not sure if you have heard of these different studies before, but I just want to share, no, before during the pandemic, during the start of the pandemic, right around 2020, May of 2020, the first vaccine from Pfizer was rolled out. So I was the I was one of the volunteers who participated the randomized controlled clinical trial for the vaccine. Okay? So I was just 2 months postpartum and I really want to get vaccinated, and they said it's good that there are different backgrounds of participants that wants to receive the vaccine. And i was I was selected because my profile is 2 months postpartum and breastfeeding and healthy individual. So I received the first rollout of the vaccine, the first dose of that Pfizer, and it gave me muscle pain in the injection site, and I a low grade fever, if I can remember. But over the course of time, it did not cause decrease of breast milk, decrease in appetite, or decrease in sleep quality. So actually, my husband was kind of um, reluctant me joining that one, but I asked him to join also, so that whatever happens to me might happen to him. But just joking aside, but we really want to make sure that we are both protected because there's no vaccine for pediatrics during the first rollout, and have to make sure that we are protected. And I believe, since I kept on teaching the subject, I used to teach the infectious disease for 10 years of Clean Farm curriculum. So I do believe that I understand the the foundation of drug discovery and infectious disease. And remember the chain of transmission, if Sir Irvin mentioned it to you, we really have to make ourselves protected so that we can take care of others. So really, that's a big leap of faith that we had ourselves um, underwent that one. And lo and behold, when the pediatric vaccine rolled out, we enrolled the 5 years old, yung eldest, he got vaccinated also with the first and the second dose. So yeah, it really has to go back to your foundation, that you understand very well what are the benefits, what are the risks involved, and when you understand that, you can be an advocate of that endeavor. So I hope you can embrace that as well. Okay, sige. So let's move forward to the interesting part. Hopefully, this interests you. These are just pictures here that helps us identify the process. Not really to memorize it, no? We're not going to memorize it because there's no use of memorizing it. Just have to understand so that when we are being asked in the pharmacy, what is it about? We have the idea on how does it proceeds. Okay, so for example here, this is for RCT, randomized controlled trials, from the word itself, randomized. So I've mentioned a while ago, you have to make sure there's a very good eligibility criteria you have established before you started the procedure. So there's different there's different level or stages. So the first stage is to assess pa. This will be assessed before it will be implemented. Once it is implemented, you can gather your participants, and you have to get those who did not qualify, and then yung mga qualified, that's the time you will randomize it. In the randomization process, this is also submitted to specific body, which will not part of our discussion right now. But most importantly, you have to remember this is confidential. Okay, this is confidential. How does randomization occur? How it is submitted to FDA, I believe, but there are specific branch of FDA that handles the randomization of a certain protocol, especially for drugs that involves very wealthy manufacturing companies. To randomize all of these actually are very is parang confidential because it might be being fished out to other competitors who would like to get or who would like to develop the technology. You know, there are also sci-fi movies that are anchored to this principle. Are you interested on these different movies? That, for example, there are series also some some conflict starts with the leaking of information to another manufacturing company. Yes, there's a lot of movies that is circling about drug discovery. So the randomization process class is very private and it's submitted and for approval. And once it's approved, there it is being um, implemented already, who will be allocated to the standard, who will be allocated to the intervention. So there's usually, this is just for representation, there's usually two branches. Okay. And after the allocation, there's a follow-up. So all of these have specific fine prints in the allocation part, in the follow-up part, and in the analysis part. So there are always fine prints there. So this is just the general picture of how it goes. No, can be you can view it this way. I think it's better to have it that way. But it's not just as simple as tossing the dice, huh? This is just a picture. It's not as simple as tossing the dice and who goes to treatment, who goes to control. Okay? And then who receives the intervention and who receives the standard care. Okay, just to insert class, I've been mentioning standard treatment or standard care. There is what we call as TAU, if you have come across with that in some clinical trials. TAU or treatment as usual. So it is unethical for us to make the control group receive nothing. Okay, it is unethical that our control group receive nothing. Is what I'm talking about nothing is placebo. That is unethical actually. So most often it is the treatment as usual or the TAU, the tau, or that's the one being used for comparison. There is a certain or specific condition, please take note everyone, there is certain cases or condition that placebo is allowed for comparison for randomized controlled trials if the drug you are going to study is not yet established as effective compared with placebo. For example, cannabinoids or cannabis or any derivatives with cannabis. So in my dissertation, I had systematic review and meta-analysis of cannabis-derived products, cannabis derivatives in comparison with placebo. Because here in the Philippines, we are not allowed to use any cannabis-derived products. I'm not sure in US. I'm sure here in Canada they allow um for recreational use, but we can compare it with placebo because its benefit, its medical use is not really established yet that it's better versus the placebo, and there's no treatment as usual in comparison to that um, that pharmacological class specifically or in a specific treatment or in a specific disease. Okay? But for example, if you want to study about lipid lowering activity, you cannot invite hyperlipidemic patients and give them nothing. Okay? You cannot invite or you cannot enroll hyperlipidemic patients and give them nothing just to give a good comparison and contrast later on. It is unethical. You have to give them the treatment as usual, and the intervention is the new drug. Right? So I hope everyone is paying attention on that. Okay. This one is for non-randomized trial. So as you can see, it's really emphasized here that no randomization. Okay? No randomization. And then there's still assessment for eligibility, exclusion, recruitment, follow-up, and analysis. So what is just missing here is the randomization is removed. So same process, allocation, but randomization is removed. There's eligibility, there's exclusion of those that able to meet the criteria, recruitment, follow-up, and analysis. Okay?